Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a meeting of the Brant County Council. Attendance has been taken, noting that Councillor Garneau is not with us tonight. Everyone else is here, which takes us to number 2 on the agenda, which is the land acknowledgement. And I believe Councillor Oakley is going to do that for us.
Thank you, Mayor Bailey. As we gather, we acknowledge that we meet on the lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, Six Nations of the Grand River, and the traditional territory of the Attawandarock. We remind ourselves that the County of Brant is situated on lands that are full of rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. We recognize the significance of their contributions to the past, present, and future of this land. As a county, we have a shared responsibility for the stewardship of the land on which we live and work, and a commitment to the truth and reconciliation calls to action. We commit to continue learning, reflecting on our past, and working in allyship.
Thank you, Councillor Oakley. That takes us to number 3 on the agenda, which is the approval of the agenda, noting that there's an addendum. Is there anything else that anyone wants to add to the agenda? Seeing none, Councillor Chambers.
It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McAlpine that the agenda for the July 9th, 2024 County of Brant Council meeting be approved, and that Section 4E of the procedural bylaw be suspended. The allow report 424 to be considered as it is not a Planning Act matter.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Takes us to number 4 on the agenda, which is the declaration of pecuniary interest. I believe, Councillor Howes, you have one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to declare a pecuniary interest for item number 10.2, and I'll step away from the table at that time.
Thank you. Delegations. We have a delegation, which is Mr. Webb, which is our addendum for tonight. If you could have come to the podium. Oh, he's online. There he is. Hello there. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Can everyone hear me okay?
We sure can.
Thank you. My comments will be very brief because you've had a busy night already and need to get through the balance of your agenda. I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of Panattoni Development Company, the developers of the Rest Acres Plan of Subdivision in Paris. My submission to you is very straightforward. We have an item on tonight's agenda, item 15.1. That's a bylaw to remove a holding provision from the portion of the subject lands. I'm here before you tonight to say that we're in full support of that and respectfully request that council adopt that bylaw. In being here tonight, this also gives me an opportunity on behalf of my clients and all of our project team to extend to your staff a great thank you. This has been a very complex, large project that has required extensive collaboration amongst ourselves and not just planning staff who get to put forward a bylaw tonight, but staff from your engineering department, transportation department, clerks, natural environment. We really do want to express to council our appreciation for the great work that's been done by all the staff in getting us to this point today, which we're now very close to actually seeing construction begin on these lands. So, Mr. Chairman, that's the extent of my comments. Again, ideally respecting your full support to adopt that bylaw this evening as a procedural matter so that we can proceed with construction. And again, extending on behalf of Panattoni our great appreciation to all the hard work that's gone into getting us to this point and making sure that all the infrastructure is in place to allow appropriate plan development. And with that, I answer any questions you may have, but otherwise, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Webb, for saying those kind things. We've had a lot of change in the county lately, and we do like to hear that you're satisfied and you're happy with our staff and the way we're doing business. It's been a bit of a challenge for us, but I'm glad to hear that we're still very effective and successful. So thank you for saying that.
You might be a relatively small municipality compared to others, but I will tell you that Panattoni is greatly impressed by the quality of staff and the diligence of staff in getting us through the process. So,
well, thank you. Thank you for that. Are there any questions to Mr. Webb? Did anyone bring him any gifts or anything? We really do. We like to reward people that say nice things like that. So
none needed. Just all the thanks to your staff.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. How does council want to deal with the delegation? Councillor Bell?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just one quick question. I'm actually looking at the zoning bylaw that Mr. Webb was talking about, and the first operative clause actually says we want to change from holding prestige industrial special exemption brackets H-M1-16 to prestige industrial. So I presume we're dropping the H, but then the next bracket says H-M1-16. So we haven't changed the, am I right, Dan? Sorry, you're looking at me there. Is there should be a H removed?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. If we can do that for the bylaws, I need to read the bylaws.
Any other questions for the very polite delegation? No? How do we want to deal with the delegation? Councillor Coleman? Seeking a seconder? Councillor McAlpine, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of committee and council. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 6 on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting. Councillor Pierce, Councillor Seconder. No, there are none. Oh, they're not in. Okay, sorry. Councillor Pierce, you saved that for another time. We have none. Business arising from the minutes, we must not have any of those either. Consent items to be approved, there's none, or received, there's none. Committee reports, there aren't any. Staff reports. Dan, you're back up for 138 Langford Church Road. Let's get it on the floor first. I need someone to put it on the floor. Councillor Pierce and Councillor Coleman, thank you. Okay, Dan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a zoning bylaw amendment application for a property located at 138 Langford Church Road. This application was presented to committee by our planner, Haley Helema, who's no longer with the county, but the application is required as a condition of a consent application that has been conditionally approved to essentially rezone or recognize the remaining agricultural area left over outside of the designated area. So this is a more of a technical application in recognition of the undersized farm parcel of approximately 22.4 hectares, again, which is a condition of a severance application to sever a lot closer to the road along Langford Church. This application has been circulated, no public comments received. The staff recommendation this evening is for approval, and the report was prepared by Planner Helema and being presented by myself, and I agree with the staff recommendation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Dan? No? Call the vote. All those in favor of the recommendation? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Dan. We're going out to 10.2 now, which is 1318 Coburn Street West, and it's Dan again.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is another zoning bylaw amendment application which was presented for information last month. This is for a property located at 1318 Coburn Street West with specifically frontage along Bishopsgate Road. Staff recommending approval of the application. Again, the subject land should look familiar. We have severed and rezoned a number of parcels individually along this frontage of Bishopsgate Road. The designation encourages industrial development, and the zoning is being amended to reflect that designation and permit uses within the M2 zone. We do expect future severance application to be processed by our Committee of Adjustment to sever this land that is being rezoned, or at least a portion of it. And the development of the land is subject to site plan control. Similar to the previous application, there is a technical component to this where we are recognizing the remaining area that is to remain in designated and zoned agricultural. It's just now becoming undersized, or it will be in the future. So a technical component to recognize that deficient agricultural area. Again, circulated for public and technical review with no comments received. Staff are recommending approval of this application.
Looking for someone to put it on the floor, please. Councillor Oakley, seconded by Councillor Bell. For discussion, please, clerk, note that Councillor Howe stepped away from the horseshoe. All those comments, concerns? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Takes us to 10.3. Dan, get comfortable. It's you again. And I'll ask first of all to give down the floor of Councillor McAlpine, Councillor Coleman. This is 19 King Street South. Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a zoning bylaw amendment application for 19 King Street South. This is being presented for with the recommendation of approval. Again, for the reasons outlined in the staff report. The staff report was originally, or the information presentation last month was presented by Planner Helema, and I'm taking it forward to recommendation. So the subject lands are located on the west side of King Street South and include a existing use on the property, which the applicants described as a contractor's yard. The lands are designated suburban residential, which the intent is to facilitate lower density residential uses and some limited supporting uses. And the zoning is currently agricultural. So the application ultimately aims to implement the designation that is currently in place. There are 3 components to this application and one minor change that is different from the information, and I'll note that. So the area in green is to identify and reflect a 10-meter natural heritage vegetation protective buffer. You can see the 2 green blobs north of this green, or the subject lands. The idea here is to establish and put protective measures in place to establish that linkage. Recognize the larger green blob that is there. This will protect that portion from development. The blue area is to permit a reduced lot frontage to the site-specific zoning to permit a lot frontage of 15 meters. That will give or allow for a future severance or lot line adjustment application to be processed to give that couple landlocked parcels frontage. The beige area or the yellow area, this is the area that's changed since the information meeting. The previous meeting identified that we were going to rezone these lands with a site-specific agricultural zone to recognize the reduced lot area as it didn't meet the 40 hectares required. The approach has been modified, and what we are proposing to do is to permit the contractor's yard, recognizing the existing non-residential use that exists there, allow for expansion. If expansion were to take place, it would require protective measures to be implemented in response to or in recognition of the surrounding residential uses. So this approach allows for protection of that existing use and really clarifies how it can continue moving forward and what measures need to be implemented to protect surrounding land uses. The application was circulated, no comments or concerns received. Again, we do anticipate a related consent application for lot line adjustment to deal with that frontage piece. Staff are recommending approval of the application, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Dan. Does committee have any, or council have any concerns before we can stand behind this recommendation to approve? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed and carried. Thank you. which takes us to number 11 on the agenda, which is communications, and I don't have any resolutions. There aren't any other business. I didn't ask at the beginning of the meeting whether anyone had any other business for council tonight. Does anyone have anything they want to say as other business before we turn the page? No? Okay, I've now turned the page and we're going to go in camera, and Councillor Miller is going to take us there.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Coleman, that Brant County Council convene in camera to discuss. You cut it off there. Proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. That's in regards to Smith Nature Center.
All those in favor? Opposed? We're going in camera. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. Takes us to number 15 on the agenda, which is the bylaws. Councillor Bell, you have them?
I do. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pearce, that bylaw 6124, as amended to 6524, be read a first time.
All those in favor of the first reading? Opposed and carried. If you could do it for the second time, Councillor Bell, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pearce, that bylaw 6124 to 6524 be read a second time and all clauses and preambles be adopted.
Are there any questions to the second reading of the bylaws? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed and carried. If you could do it for the third and final time, please, Councillor Bell.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pearce, that bylaw 6124 to 6524 be read a third time, passed, signed and executed.
All those in favor of the third reading? And there's no one to oppose it, so that's the end of the bylaws. Just before we adjourn, I think it was very nice that that delegation praised our staff and all of us for doing what we can do under some challenging circumstances. I think that's really quite amazing. We're hoping that we're keeping up with things, and we are apparently, and we're doing it well. So I think that was really great. I think we should thank staff and Allison and everyone for doing it more than the best you can. You did what you needed to do to muster up some compliments. So thank you for that. The next meeting on the agenda is on July the 23rd. Is there anything else for the betterment of the County of Brant?